Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for joining this discussion about Crunchfish and the status of the company just after it has released this morning the report for the full year 2020. I'm going to start the discussion in a very few moments with the CEO Joachim Samuelsson. And my name, who have the honor of being moderator today, is Alf Riple. I work at Västra Hamnen Corporate Finance, and we have the honor of hosting this as we cover Crunchfish with our commission research service. We will have a discussion, Joachim and me. You are very welcome to write questions. There is a question icon at the bottom of your screen where you can write questions to us, and we will read them out, and Joachim will try to answer. I should also tell you that this session is being recorded, and the recording will be found later on at Crunchfish website and on Västra Hamnen's channel on YouTube. So with that, I would like to say a very good morning to you, Joachim. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. Thanks, Alf. How are you?
I'm good, very much. Thank you for that. Let's start right off with the news that you released this morning, and I suspect that it is quite a bit more significant than you can appreciate at the first look. The news is that you have become technology partners to a major international payment network. So just to start off, when you say payment network, I suspect we're talking about one of the card companies, one of the handful of card companies, the cards that you can pay at any shop around the world. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And that you have become a technology partner to one of these. I suspect this is very significant. Can you start by telling us a little bit about what it is to become a technology partner to this major company?
Well, yeah, we will. I think they've seen what we have. They think it's extremely interesting. I think the way they described it to me was that on this very fundamental level, they work with thousands of banks in the world. That's sort of what they're approaching, and they have cards. You can have cards with one of those sort of payment networks on. You always would just have one. Then they can digitize cards and have it in mobiles. But both those two services are online services. And then they said, you are something different, something new, something interesting. And in that area, you're way ahead of the game. And we are extremely interested to have you part of our technology program, which is really just for the companies who are closest to that company when it comes to the actual payment rail itself, sort of the chip companies and the ones that provide sort of the innermost parts of their whole system. So we're very privileged because they have other programs as well, but this is really closest to their chest that they have these technology partners. So we are extremely happy. We are getting into a relationship where we will get access to technology specialists from their side. We will get access to APIs and specs, and we will look at how we best could sort of integrate so our technology could be part of their offerings when they are talking to their thousands of banks in the world.
Exactly, and I mean this is their interest in you. It's based on your competence in digital cash. So they see you as a means of rolling out digital cash. Is it globally or is it regionally, or where is it supposed to be?
This is global. This is global. Yeah, it's sort of it originated in India. It was the Indian, because as you know, we've been active in Sweden, our home market, but we've been really pursuing things in India. And after RBI, the Central Bank of India, started to talk about offline solutions, everybody started to look at offline, even the payment networks. Everybody's looking for how can we respond. India is the fastest growing market in the world when it comes to mobile payments. Everybody's there, and I think they picked up that we do have some interesting ideas, and this was sort of a couple of months back actually, when we only have this on mobile phones. Since then I think they will be now quite happily surprised if they have been tracking us that we've evolved quite a lot, because we have it now on feature phones, we have it on cards, and now the latest news we had last week on interoperability is just absolutely fantastic, I think, for going into this relation with all this stuff.
And I want to come back to some of those points, but first, if we continue on the path of this particular cooperation or partnership, are you going to prepare a specific solution for this particular partner, something that only they can use, or are you supplying them some sort of SDK or standardized solution that you could partner with other companies?
Yeah, no, I don't think it will need to be proprietary in any way. This will be using our sort of standard technology. It's rather that they like to work with us in order to make sure that this works really well on sort of their rail. That's what it's about. But I think we have our technology, and they see sort of potential in it. As I said earlier, they have cards, they have digitized cards on mobiles, but these are two online services, and they see this offline service of ours as something really interesting for the future of digital payments.
I see. You have also released other news when it comes to partners, and you touched a little bit upon it, especially for India. It's interesting that you have signed up with a partner that will make your technology for digital cash available also on feature phones, not only smartphones. Can you explain how that's supposed to work and about this partnership?
Yeah, India is an interesting market because offline is a key component. That's what RBI was asking the whole ecosystem, please start experiment with it, because they do have connectivity problems in the country. It's not like in Sweden where most of the time our online service work. In India, it's a difficulty. Certainly, also if you come out to in the hinterland, as they call it, huge problem. And the whole government is focused on digitization, and they need them to address this. But the population is that it's not like in Sweden where everybody has smartphones. Not at all. In India, 1 billion phones. This is the biggest sort of phone market in the world as well. Half of the population are sitting with smartphones. Not half of the population, well, half of the phones, sort of about 500 million smartphones, but there are 500 million feature phones. These are these old phones, people remember them, that you played Snake on the Nokia phones. I guess it sort of may not be Nokia phones anymore, but it is those kind of which doesn't have apps. It's not smartphones. But then you have a fairly big population of maybe, say, 200 million people who maybe can't even afford even a phone at all, and they are just would have to have cards. So the whole mix of that market is that in order to have a ubiquitous solution that can serve the entire market, you really have to go for all form factors, mobile, smartphones, feature phones, as well as cards. And we do that now, which is great news for rolling things out in India.
And the partner we're talking about here who can supply you with that functionality is called Tysys, is that correct?
Yeah, Tysys is already actually active together with a company in India called eRoute. And they've been selected by RBI to do a solution with feature phones using the technology of Tysys. One of the owners actually of Tysys is actually in the management team of eRoute, working there with this solution. But they've done, right now they've done for feature phone an SMS type of solution. So if you think of it, that their networks can be of two kinds. You can have data network, data connectivity, or you can just have cellular connectivity. So what they can use here is that data is not available, but they use it for cellular connectivity. That's sort of what they are doing. So right now, I think the agreement we have actually with Tysys is that India, we have to sort of, we've said, let's sort of take that sort of as a second step, because they don't want to disturb what they currently are doing with their project with RBI. So, but it is, I think we have a discussion, obviously, because the owner of Tysys is also sort of invested into eRoute in India. So I think we will resolve how this will be. But essentially what we have with Tysys is an SIM overlay. If you think that everybody knows you have a SIM card that you put in your phone, you do the same thing. That comes from the mobile operator. They give you a SIM card, and a SIM overlay is you glue an additional SIM, a very paper thin SIM on top of it, really, and it fits in the same SIM slot. So what's possible to do is that we can develop our sort of digital cash solution running on that additional SIM, that thin SIM, which sort of sits together with the other SIM. And in that way, we have a solution which is agnostic to mobile feature phones, can go on any feature phones, but it's also agnostic to mobile operators. So this could just be rolled out. There is this hardware component from Tysers that needs to go, but the cool thing is that we can go for the entire feature phone market, having our solution sitting on that thin SIM itself.
This is fascinating. And Tysers and also the card company we talked about initially, they are part of your new ecosystem of partners that you're building. Can you tell us more about your partner strategy and why do you see this need to build your own ecosystem of partners?
Well, yeah, the vision of Crunchfish is to get to every single wallet in the world. It's just, a grandiose vision. And obviously, if you think of it, if we go to one wallet is Swish in Sweden, everybody knows that one, but that's one wallet. That's what it is. It's a very strong and fantastic wallet in Sweden, but many other countries have completely different wallets. And in order to get to all these, we need partners. If we take the announcement we did today with this is a major payment networks. They have thousands of banks, and they have also many sort of third-party applications that are digitizing their cards into their apps as well. So that we're talking sort of really in tens of thousands, maybe even 100,000 opportunities here with that we're getting into that sort of payment network. But this is the same. We got into e-currency in this sort of quarter. They take us to all central banks. We have also partners which are focused on technology like Tysers, and it takes us, maybe it broadens basically where we can apply our solution. So we are building really in a very strategic way. We are building sort of that ecosystem around us that will give us better reach into the market, but also a better combined solution into the market. Without that partner strategy, I don't think we would be anywhere near getting to that grandiose vision of ours.
And you have announced quite a few partnerships that fit into that ecosystem. But I take it this is just the beginning. You're going to add plenty more. Is that correct?
Yeah. No, I think we are. I think the industry have understood. Many people in the industry understood the power of what we've done. We are really extremely innovative. What we've done. We are changing the game, and essentially what it's all about is that everything has been online for the last 10 years. And now we are coming and saying that online has gone too far. It's much better to actually split it in two. You do an offline settlement first when you pay in proximity, and then you settle as a subsequent step. That whole idea that we are coming with is actually what's going to fly in the future. It's a new paradigm that I think will change the way we do digital payments forever. Whoever has our technology will control the world of digital payments for the future. We sit with something which is absolutely fantastic here.
And is there any competition? And is there a parallel ecosystem somewhere where the different technology providers that also can provide digital cash and offline payments?
What we were really pleased about was that Visa just in December published this paper saying that for CBDC, central bank digital currency, physical cash is sort of an offline means of payment. You do settle it simply offline, and then you can go to the bank later and deposit your money, and then you get it into your account. Here, digital cash is sort of the same thing, that you want to do it something offline, and then you settle it later. Visa sort of said, for CBDC, we have a great idea. Why don't we do it in 2 steps? One offline and then one online. And we laughed and we said, well, that's what we've been saying for a year. And but that was a great endorsement by Visa, just telling the world, and it's a very detailed paper. They have a whole protocol specified in detail, and we laughed and we said, well, that's a copy paste on what we've done, but we are sort of a year earlier with our patent pending things here. So it's looking good.
You know what they say, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery.
Yes, no, we were very flattered. I think we got an early Christmas present. We were very happy that they have seen the light, just like we have, that this is the way forward in order to really be able to drive digital payments. Because you look at India, right now there are 2.5 billion transactions a month, but they're talking about having 1 billion transactions every day. That's sort of going from 2.5 to 30. How on earth are they going to ever do that unless they sort of implement a technology like ours? Already today, the biggest bank in India, they have 24% decline. You have connectivity, you have money on your bank, but simply the transaction times out. So 24% of the transaction, you wait for 20 seconds and you're still not getting basically allowed to pay because the remitting bank is not able to answer. We solve all that because you settle first offline, and then you can send it immediately, and it can marinate there in a queue for 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. I think the merchant is not unhappy that he has to wait 10 minutes before it hits his account. What he's happy about, that in his experience in the shop, it takes no time at all. Customers will just flush through. There's no waiting time. That's what we deliver here for for the world, but certainly for the Indian market, which is an interest of ours.
And just to finalize my previous question, you are the only ecosystem and technology provider that can have
that I'm aware of. Yes, that I'm aware of. Yes, I think there are because everybody has just going in I would say into a dead end. Just online. We've been thinking of that, and we started saying no, it's gone too far. You need offline and then online. That's the beauty. We have made ourselves dependent on the net. That's a mistake, and it's only been for 10 years. So it's not like we've always had it that way as humans, but we've been paying for thousands of years offline. Why don't we, just see this time in history as a parenthesis for 10 years and let's put it right again. And Crunchfish is the company that's going to fix that.
I just want to remind all of the people attending that you're very welcome to ask questions. You can use the chat function at the bottom of your screen. It looks like a talk bubble, and we will read out the question and discuss further on that. In the meanwhile, I want to go a little bit further on the partnership and what it entails, because you have looked wider than just initially. I suspect you talked first and foremost about instant payments. But now you have looked a lot wider, and you presented a very interesting patent over the weekend that now allows you to have or facilitate payments across payment rails. You sort of tie together all of the different payment rails, and by rails I mean instant payments, central bank cash, and card transactions, so they all can talk to each other. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, we realized that the sheer sort of idea of ours, that we have it as a two-tier architecture. You do a settlement offline as the first step, and then a subsequent step online. That means that it becomes feasible to interconnect any sort of payment service in the world, and that could be across services within the same scheme, but also between different schemes. Like you said, there are card schemes, there are real-time payment, there are closed-loop wallets, there are CBDC, even crypto, which is kind of fun. Because crypto is all about online security, but you can use, if you have an exchange rate between Bitcoin and Swedish krona, you could sort of be debiting your how much that should be in crypto, in Bitcoin, and you pay with that to a merchant who wants to accept it in Swedish krona. And then when it's been sent off up online, we do then that exchange rate. We check on the timestamp what is now the current exchange rate, and chances are it hasn't varied much from the exchange rate that you have in your app as well, because there is an exchange rate in the app which would sort of provide that facility that you could debit in your currency that you have on your app, but debit the correct amount, say in Swedish krona, if that's what you have on your app, given what you are paying with internationally. The reason why this becomes possible is that we have all the time talked about that in an offline mode, you should be able to verify a transaction that is a legit transaction coming from our offline wallet. That is not harder to do between services. I hear on your dialect, Alf, you're from Norway, so this could be from, you come with your Vipps app in Sweden and you pay to a Swedish merchant in Swedish krona. It's not hard, as long as we can sort of interconnect them. And it's all about certificates. And what we are in discussions now with certificate authorities in the world is to establish ourselves as the root certificates for the digital cash service. And that enables sort of an interconnect between services. Because when everything is online, it's extremely difficult to get say a Swedish merchant, if there comes a Chinese customer, to do all that routing at the moment of payment and get a response back. Yes, you can let the customer go. But with offline settlement, where you have an offline wallet, everything becomes possible. So for the first time in history, we are interconnecting every single payment service in the world across every single sort of payment scheme. That's what we can do. And that's absolutely fabulous for the world. So we're very happy about that one, the interoperability.
And the technology that allows this to happen, that would be a universal certificate that would be acknowledged by all the connected service providers. Is that correct?
Yeah, we will have a root certificate that we will sign off. We will sign the certificate of their payment service with our root certificate. So certificates comes in a sort of a hierarchy that we will have the root. So we can sign, say, a certificate from, take a card rail here, from MasterCard. We sign their sort of a root certificate, and then that means that any others, which is not MasterCard, if this is sort of coming maybe from Swish here, then they could be interoperable. But it's all about that because certificates is a sort of a hierarchy of trust, and we establish ourselves really at the root. And anyone that you can make yourself trust entity. So it means that when the merchant receives a payment, he should be able to trust that who is paying you, and he can trust that because he trusts the service that he's being paid at. And then in between schemes, they can trust each other thanks to our root certificate that goes across these sort of schemes and services. I don't know, maybe it's kind of sounds complicated, but anyone in the payment industry would know, because this is standard technology. We just understood that the sheer fact that we do it offline and then online opens up for interoperability, which has never ever been possible before, but it becomes now.
Yeah, no, I understand, and I suspect that a service like Swish in Sweden, they have some sort of certificate within the Swish system, right? And all they need to do is they need to open up to for acceptance of a different kind of certificate, which is the unique root certificate you're talking about.
Yeah.
But how much of an investment is that on their side? I mean, how much do they have to do to open up for accepting these kinds of
that's easy for them in a way, I think, but it gives us as Crunchfish a possibility to, because we would be that if we talk about card networks, they are in a way that they have that root certificate within their schemes, so they can pay all over the world. Now what we're doing is that you can pay actually all over the world, but even in between schemes as well. So we are in a way putting ourselves sort of above these international card rails, because it's all about just getting access to these sort of certificates really, and getting that spread. But that's a new play that we can do, offering this sort of opportunity with interoperability, which goes beyond just having it offline payment within a certain payment service. Now we have also interoperable between services. I think it's also extremely interesting for CBDC, because if a central bank gives up central bank money, that's a different silo from the banking money that you would have, say, on Swish today. That's banking money. But the e-currency, e-krona here in Sweden, that's a separate silo. The Swedish sort of central bank will have full control exactly how much they've issued, and you need to do interchange. But we solve all that. So for the Swedish government right now, or Swedish central bank, to issue their e-currency, they can easily do that, push it out to the apps, But they don't have to change the merchant network much, because they could still accept just in bank money, and then you do an interchange one-to-one between an e-currency and the Swedish or banking money, and that comes also for free here. Makes a much easier rollout of CBDC in the world here.
I was just curious of one thing. When this universal root certificate and the combination of all the different payment rails, is that the feature that you sort of just stumble upon? Is that an idea that came up along the way, or did you plan for this?
No, this was an idea of mine, and I discussed with my great partner Paul Kronholm, and we sort of he's great in just drawing some of the drawings, and we put it together, and we filed a patent for it because we think this is huge. Yeah. But we didn't see this earlier, but we saw it sort of a month ago, and then we filed for this patent. Yeah.
Great. Another patent that you released recently is the feature where you can pay by ordinary traditional plastic cards to a phone. You just blip the card to the phone. Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, well, that's actually available today when the card is an online service. There are cash cards today. You can blip on, you can use it with Swish. So there are Lunar in Sweden, there are PFC, there are cash cards like that. What sets us apart is that we can do it offline as well. So again, similarly, that we have an offline wallet that could also sit on cards as well. A card also has a smart chip, just like you have we talked about the feature phones. That's also a smart chip that we have here with Tisus. We can have it there, or we can have it on smartphones as well. So for us, it's just different form factors. But what we go with, which is unique with us, is that we can do it even in an offline mode. In India, particularly, that was very important because it's fine with a cash card here in Sweden, and that's available, cash cards, but it's all online again. Everybody's just been doing things online. We do things offline. I see a great use here in Sweden, for instance, and even particularly in India, is that you can, if you, in Sweden, when cash is disappearing, this is a great way to just give your daughter who's going to go and buy some candy. You use maybe the Swish app, and then you tap a card on that, and then you load that at home by tapping on the mobile phone, and then you have provided some money on that card. These things will become available, and these things will be fairly important actually to have if cash is disappearing in a country like Sweden. In India, where cash is still there, but they have a huge problem, that they have a large population that needs to use cards, and they need it as well, and they certainly need it in an offline mode. Here in Sweden, we're more fine because our sort of digital rail works much better all the time. But in India, I think this is a huge innovation for them, really.
But what I wanted to know is how is a user going to authorize payment using the plastic card in an offline mode?
Well, it can either be that you do it against your own phone. If you're a dad, you have, this is your plastic card, so you're authorizing on the phone. But we've also applied for patents that there are sort of biometrics cards that comes out, so you can put your thumb on it as well. So that could be used maybe here for authorizing that payment sort of as well. So you can have biometric things on the cards, but otherwise I think you use your phone in order to tap up a card that you also have as a facility, maybe that you can provide for your daughter, or for someone that is disadvantaged and would need a simpler solution than paying through a mobile phone.
Okay, we have a question here from the audience, and I think this relates to our previous discussion about the universal root certificate. Are you involved in any pilot project with a central bank testing this out?
Not yet, but through sort of e-currency, they are certainly in many dialogues, and right now we are doing a co-create that we are building our offline technology together with their online scheme. That's what we're working with right now. So I think that will come. We've also we just sent from the Swedish embassy in India, sent a letter to the governor of RBI, as well as the Ministry of Finance, that because they are looking into CBDC in India, they should look at Crunchfish, because I think we have everything they are looking for in terms of the solution. So that's a letter going out from the ambassador of Sweden, or the trade commissioner of I think is being sent for. And so we are telling people about it, but we're not yet in a pilot, but that will probably come soon.
Please ask more questions. We have a few minutes left, and we can probably prolong the session if we have plenty of questions. I think I'm nearly at the end of my questions, Joachim. Is there any other partnerships or any other patents? You had such a lot, so it's hard to have an overview of them all. Is there any that you think deserves a particular mention here now before we close the session?
Well, in our report, we did write 2 pages where we provide an overview of how everything fits together in this sort of puzzle, both from the partner side, where they fit in, where they are on this partner strategy, and we also mapped all our patents really or I shouldn't say patents. There are innovations which are patent pending. Because we haven't yet got any sort of review of them yet. I am hopeful, but that hasn't happened yet. So it's wrong to say patents. It's sort of patent pending. But we map it to where it fits in. The last one on interoperability, this fits very much at the top because we are making the services interoperable, whereas most of our other patents are fitting into the payment app, where our heart of our system is with this offline wallet. But it's all in the report. I encourage people to read it, and we try to do our best to try to explain the world as we see it, really centered around digital cash, which we think will be an important piece of the puzzle in the future.
Yeah, and it's really changing fast. It's fascinating to see how much you have managed to come up with of news in the last few weeks. I don't have any more questions from the audience, and I don't have any more questions at this time from me either. So thanks very much, Joachim. It's been fascinating, and thank you all of you who have. There is one final question. Do you have a strategy for a business model of your software for offline cash? Would you be able to split a percentage for every transaction with your partners, or will your partners license it from you on a monthly basis? That's a good question.
I think there are many ways to charge for this, but I think the merchants, which are typically paying for things anyway, they like to get a better payment experience. You can have a monthly fee for them, but certainly they are paying also transaction based also to get those offline payments, because it makes their life much easier. But there are switching fees. There are we can have certificate fees as well, or these certificates for interoperability. So there are many ways to revenue this. And I think we have to align ourselves with the business model of the banks, how it actually is working in the world. We are still completely open with our partner strategy. Every partner strategy or partner relation we've signed, it works this way that we are completely independent of how we set our prices. We haven't painted ourselves into any corner at all. We go together. They price their stuff, we price ours, and we haven't really set any precedents really yet, because it's still early days. We are in we're building our solutions together, but so business model will come later, but all flexibility is still open to us.
Great. Well, I think that is it. We have to close the session now. Thank you very much, Joachim, and thank you all attendees.
Thank you, Alf, for having me. Take care then.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.